live here. Let's see if we're live. Check, check, check. Are we live? Are we live? Let's see. I'm getting ads on my own channel. Fucking ridiculous. Check, check, check. I'm assuming we're live. Do people hear me? Someone in the chat. Hello, hello, hello. I think we're live. Let's see. Comments coming in. Okay. Can't see any of your message. Can you guys hear me? Can you see this? That same shit's happening with the video. Hold on. Let me just bring everybody on. See if we can all see each other. This is fucking weird.
There we go. I got a video.
See if you guys can see me. Okay.
You're live, bro. You're live. I see it here on right here. It's right here.
Good. Yeah, I don't know why. The last two times when I'm trying to talk to people, I end up coming up on a black screen. It's freaking whack.
It's weird.
Put myself here. Put him here. What's up, everybody? I'm gonna put Tevis on this side so you're not looking up the screen. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 3. Thank you all for joining us on a Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific time, and bearing with me with the different times that we have to do these. I've had an insane work schedule lately, and so I'm trying to get this to go to work within the margin. So I appreciate everybody for showing up. How many we got? We got 30 people in here right now, and we got 4 guests. Still waiting on Tanner if he can make it. So thank you all for joining us on a Saturday here. First of all, I want for everybody to welcome Shane. Shane, say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Shane is
Shane.
Shane's fantastic. Shane hit me up when I first started this, and he offered to help out with some of the back end on the channel. He's been really helpful on the back end, and he's got some really cool things that he is working on. And this is part of the reason why the Patreon really helps, because I'm not paying him right now, but I really do hope to pay him. And TJ, as you know, having that guy in the background that can help you with
everything, bro. Alex is my dude, bro. Alex is my
freaking helpful. So please, everybody, just give a shout out to Shane. Do you have a channel? Do you have something that we can follow you on?
I mean, I'm not super active on much stuff. I'll give you that stuff on another day.
All right, he's real shy. Do you want to go on the backstage, or do you want to stay with us here?
Whatever's easier.
All right, we'll keep him back there. He'll be
lock him up in the corner.
All right. So first of all, I do want to welcome everybody on the panel. We have TJ the Wheel Deal. We have Tevis from Fun of Investing, and we have Heinz Ketchup looking dapper, bro. Did you guys all dressed up just for us today?
No. I'm working. I'm on call right now, so that's why I'll probably be off if I get a patient. So that's why I have 2 phones on right now.
Oh, damn. This is another reason why it's so cool that you guys are a part of this. All right. So real quick, I just want to run through this. Where are we? Let me see. Can you guys see this? This is TJ the Wheel Deal. This is his YouTube page. If you are not following TJ on YouTube, you're a freaking moron. The guy spits out so much gold every episode. I learn something every single time. That's why I love having him on the show. Let me see if you guys can see this. It's not showing the... I want to go to the next tab. It's so freaking annoying. Where's TJ? Here we go.
You can see on my channel the thumbnails that Alex does and the thumbnails that I do. It's whatever it gives me. Those are my thumbnails.
Oh, like the YouTube one? That's funny.
And he'll go behind me and fix the shit and get me some views
in the back. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. Shane's laughing back here because he's like, I'm probably gonna be doing the same thing. All right, so this is TJ the Wheel Deal's Twitter page. Again, if you're not following him, you absolutely should. We've got Tanner's not in yet, and here's Tevis. The fundamentals of investing podcast. He's got the cool light in the background. He was telling us $400 on Etsy. That's pretty freaking dope. He's got back there, and this is his X account. You should follow these guys. It's great. This continues the conversation online. So I wanted to say thanks for that, and also to the people for supporting me in the Patreon. It's been really cool. Let me just pull it up real quick. I'm trying to be good about it. Do I even have it? Hold on. Where did I put it? whatever. I'll post a link to it. I'll post a link to it later. So topics for today. I was like joking that it's the best week ever. It has been an absolutely crazy week, and I actually have a post about this. Where is it? God, it's so hard to keep the tabs in order.
This is the guy that makes all the stock picks, guys. His name's the Duke of Wall Street.
Who's the Duke of Wall Street? Oh, there he is.
Here. He makes all the stock picks. He's better at it than I am.
His name is Duke.
Duke.
That's cool. That's cool. So yeah, real quick, here is the Finance Junkies Patreon. Right now, like I said, I've been shocked that the most popular tier is the most expensive tier. So I guess people are there aren't as many crackheads or addicts as I thought, and most people want to actually be a dealer. We've also got the the X account. Follow us there, and I think what we're going to start off with today. We'll talk about a couple of things. It's going to be a little different. We'll be talking some finance today, but I'm kind of feeling like the macro and what's happening in the world is slowly encroaching into investing, and we just can't ignore it anymore. And so while I've got some folks here from Canada, I did want to get a sense for what is the difference between what we're seeing, what we're hearing in the news, and what we're seeing, and what they're seeing on the ground. So where am I? I'm going to actually start with this little post that I saw from Amit. Where is it? It's going to be this channel, this one. It's this one. Yeah. So Amit posted. You guys see this? So Amit posted this the other day. We went through one of the craziest weeks ever in 2024 last week, and the S&P 500 was flat. You could have not looked at the markets all week and just thought it was a boring week with no global unwind of an entire Japanese carry trade. And if we look at where's the other window? I want this one. This one. You look at the S&P. This was the S&P last week. With everything that we saw in the news happening in the UK, with the Japanese carry trade, Robinhood, Palantir hit $30. I mean, it was an insane freaking week. And the S&P is essentially flat. What are your thoughts, guys? I want to start with you, Tevis.
I mean, yeah, it's flat, but at the same time, you can find a lot of opportunities if you were following it, right? The market fell quite a bit on Monday. A bunch of us picked up stock on Monday, all throughout the week, and we're higher, because of it. If I had just, gone on vacation on Sunday and came back today, yes, the market would have been flat. Maybe I might have not noticed anything at all, but I wouldn't have had the opportunity to pick up and take advantage of that dip that actually did happen. And so I think that is, your opportunity window, right? Your delta, or alpha, I should say. If you do follow it versus if you don't, right? But that's at the same time, there's a lot of people who just go into the SPY and they just turn their brain off and they just DCA into the SPY and they don't really care about the specifics. But yes, the SPY might be flat. There's a lot of stocks though that are completely not flat based on what happened last week, right? Some did recover and then some have not recovered yet.
So were you caught up in that with that sort of suspended trading? There was something what Robinhood posted $500 million came in one day during that time that like Schwab and some of the other brokerages went down for server issues while people were trying to buy the dip.
Yeah, it didn't affect me personally because I'm not in the US, so I don't have Robinhood or Schwab.
What are you, Webull?
No, I have a Canadian brokerage here. It's like the Robinhood equivalent. It's called Wealthsimple.
Okay. Oh, so you weren't affected by that. What about you, TJ? What do you think of how the week played out? And did you expect us to be flat? And were you able to capitalize on the dip buying?
Yeah, I short up a lot of positions. I added to some very, very high conviction plays that they were already big positions, relatively speaking, but in my mind, I was underweight because
right.
I'm playing for a real big bull run in crypto that has kind of materialized, but I feel like it's given us a taste of what it can be.
I'm going to get into that. I got some theories on that. So
I have been saying I want to have like 100,000 shares of Riot so I can have an easy 2 or 3 bagger on my hands and my mind. But I've been pussyfooting and I was stuck at 20,000 shares forever. So now we're sitting on 50,000 shares of Riot. And for like one massive capitulation before we have another leg up, if you will. because I feel like they always try to scare the dumb money out of the market. It's just a game that the big institutions play, and they catch us paper handing, dude, and then they drive shit back up and they get us excited. They get us to buy at the top, and it produces a lot of bag holders, right? That's how bag holders are made.
Right.
And,
Or they try to they try to have you FOMO in for some exit liquidity.
yeah. And the other thing that I did was I made a decision that Amazon eventually needs to be a top 5 position in the portfolio. And I think it's sitting at like number 7 or 8 right now. So it's making its way like that racehorse, you know, towards so whenever the race, you can see the race ending, but there's like it's coming around the corner, if you will. And I think eventually Amazon's going to be a top 3, top 5 position for me to kind of anchor the portfolio the way that I've been relying on Palantir and Tesla.
Right. Actually, while you're saying that, I'm going to pull up a chart. If you follow Amazon's like 10-year chart, it's basically up and to the right.
Right.
And it's trading in like a nice little range there, or right on its way up. And we're right now essentially right at the bottom. Not at the bottom of price wise, but you're at the bottom of this range where if it keeps going, you're not going to see lower prices in Amazon anytime soon, or ever again, if we continue to run up and they execute how they're going to do on AI. You're right. I have maybe a little Amazon in like the dividend portfolio that I just throw some extra shit, but I'm also saying like, how have I not built a bigger position in Amazon all these years? I use it every freaking day, everything in my life. Yeah. I'm a subscriber. I mean, just subscribe and save. How am I not using this thing every day? Right.
Yeah. I want to say Vitaly. I want to give a shout out to Vitaly, dude. He charted at Amazon on one of the episodes.
Yeah.
And I screenshotted it, and then I put it on my own chart, right? And then I was just like, holy shit, dude, this thing is in this trend for like a very long time up and to the right. And it's on the kind of like a Bollinger Band, but it's on the lower level of the Bollinger Band, if you will. And this thing, if it stays there and if it doesn't have a breakdown, a technical breakdown, this thing, I see it having a 3 in front of it within the next 18 months.
Yeah. If that trend continues, then you know that you can see how far extended it could get and how far it could come down. But as you move forward in time, the new low will be higher than it is now, essentially. Right. So as long as they continue to execute, the AI strategy continues to work. And for the most part, Amazon does stay out of some of like the negative narratives that can follow some of these other companies. And so you could argue that it's one of the safer bets in the Mag 7, right? How'd you do this week, Heinze?
Pretty much the same thing. Actually, it's a little bit half and half. I actually, I try to catch up with the Olympics. So just kind of the sports that I pretty much interested in. Of course, I'm more following like geopolitical stuff. I think I mentioned this last week at the pod, but I think privately to you after the pod was I listened to the Elon Musk, Jordan Peterson interview that occurred last week. Yeah. So, the transition from that into what's going on right now it's kind of, it's pretty scary how things are kind of, going into fruition and how it affects the global market. I know some of it is not directly tied, but, it does, it would be ignorant to say that those things don't impact, the overall market. But generally for me, I pretty much just, use the opportunity to buy stocks that I really like. Amazon's one of them. I believe it's not even overbought. So, and what I like about stocks like Amazon, I'm glad that you mentioned it, is Amazon is like kind of has been quiet lately, right? Yeah. They're like silently still killing it, but nobody's really just paying attention. And I kind of see this a lot in big tech companies where, they'll have like a negative or bad news and then they'll like stay quiet for like the next 3 months. And that's usually for me, it's not financial advice, but usually for me, that's when I try to find opportunities to like get in and buy the stocks that I like. The other thing too for this week is I started a position in Broadcom. That's probably one of the more bigger things that I did this week.
Nice.
But overall, in terms of the research, I kind of just had to. I was pretty busy at work too, so that hampered my research for this week. So hopefully, I add some value to this conversation.
It's all value. This is just a bunch of guys talking about shit. You know what I mean? We're just talking shit, talking shop. And while you were talking, I brought up the chart. This is just really rough, TJ. This is the channel, right? So this is what Amazon's been doing since 2002.
Right.
20-something years of trading. And you can see that it essentially trades up and down in this parallel channel. Now, there are times, we saw this with Enphase, where at a certain point, the angle changes, right? So it'll break support and maybe level off or actually a downtrend for a while. But I mean, Amazon is looking like a beast, and you can see we're essentially coming down to the bottom of the channel. If it does what it's going to do, you know that somewhere around the 160s, what is this? 120 might be the bottom of this channel, in which case we then go up, and the top of the channel right now is looking somewhere at $687. And this is 20 years worth of data. So you can make investment decisions based on this, because you say, man, we have 20 years of data here. So yeah, like you guys, I feel like I've been sleeping on Amazon. I really feel like I've been sleeping on Amazon.
I actually just opened a position in Amazon for the first time like 3 weeks ago, because I'm trying to build a separate portfolio that I've been building this year, which is the safer stuff, so that I'm not like completely degenning on everything all the time. And I had
admit it. You're like, yo, this is it's risky. It's risky,
dude. It's way more fun to have the small caps, but at the same time, I'm like, all right, I just turned 30. I'm like, I need to actually have like a safer portfolio. So I bought, Apple and Microsoft at the beginning of the year, and then I bought Amazon for the first time. Actually, I was on my show with Roy. And Roy was saying, hey, like, based on that earnings, if earnings go bad, it can fall to 160. He was looking at technicals, fell right to 160, and I bought it at 180. So I'm pretty happy. Like, I got a chance to like DCA lower into Amazon, because I think I put like 3K in there, and I was like super small. Yeah. Because I wasn't gonna ape in right before earnings, regardless of what happened. But I wanted to sort of have my toe in. So I'm gonna be accumulating that one for the next couple of weeks.
It's one of those stocks that I will definitely regret not buying more, but I also don't regret what I bought instead of it. Right? If I'm DCing into Bitcoin, if I'm picking up some more Tesla at these like depressed lows, or even SoFi, I have way too much fucking SoFi for someone that doesn't know as much about it as like Tevis and you like and Tanner. I'm just like, but it's like your guys. I know you say not financial advice, but you guys are pretty smart guys. You have a lot of money in it. TJ's got a lot of money in it. And it's something that makes it really hard not to follow that trade and be like, okay, these guys have done the DD. I think you said it, TJ, right? Like with Palantir, your DD is Amit's channel, or like with SoFi, it's these guys' channel. Same sort of deal.
Trust me, bro.
Trust me, bro. Yeah, absolutely.
I've done my own DD on Palantir. The issue is I don't know how to dig the way that Amit digs. Because you gotta. Here's the thing, man. Let me give you all some investing gold, okay?
Here we go, guys. Here we go. Shane, get ready to clip it. Get ready to clip it.
Do what you're good at. Do what you're good at. I'm good at picking strike prices, selling puts, selling calls, collecting premium, rolling when necessary, and manufacturing to win. That is my lane, and it makes a shitload of money. I am not a librarian. I am not a researcher. I asked Tevis. I sat in front of the man in Vegas, and I'm like, hey, yo, walk me through this goodwill bullshit with SoFi. Are we good or are we not good? And Tevis talks to me like I'm a fucking Labrador retriever. I receive the information and I do with it what I do. I focus on what I'm good at. And there's a lot of people trying to be good at everything, and they end up sucking at all of it.
Yeah,
get good at one or two things, and that's it, bro. And then rely on other people and ask for help. Like the people that do the best in the world, they get help from a lot of fucking sources, dude. And Amit is better at it than I am as far as research, in my opinion.
I think, like TJ, I don't know if you ever heard that expression where it goes along the lines of you never really know something until you can teach it to someone. Yeah. And it really is like that, because the content becomes a reinforcement mechanism for your own DD into these particular stocks, especially because as a strategy to grow your content, you niche into certain stocks and positions. So for Amit, it was like, Palantir, and then later like Robinhood, or, I'm not sure what Amit is in right now, but those two, I mean, he got a lot of traction based on those. For Tanner, it's like Nubank and SoFi. For myself, it's SoFi. And so the content itself forces you to go 10 layers deep because you just need news on a daily or weekly basis so that you can make more content about it. And whether you like it or not, you find yourself like going very deep. And then the other thing is it becomes a virtuous cycle. Like it becomes reinforcing because people start to associate, like for myself, for example, a lot of people know now that all of my content is SoFi related. And so whenever they find some random thing that I would never uncover on my own, they just tag me because they want to amplify that message to other SoFi people.
Right.
So they're sort of doing my homework for me. I just have to aggregate it and put in a video, you know?
For sure.
And I think we have to appreciate the value. So, you know, I know you guys mentioned Amit, started off, you know, small channel. Now he's growing his members. Obviously, there's a lot of followers that he has because of Palantir, but, you know, just the straight conviction that he had with Palantir, I think that pretty much just gravitated, not just with the fans, but I mean, you know, just look at a few months ago. I mean, he got to meet, you know, interview, what is that guy that, oh gosh, no, not Carp, Robin Hood. Vlad, and then like, oh, sorry, gosh, brain fart. Vlad, and then now he met with Carp. I mean, those are the kind of things that really like shows true value in a person. So you gotta, you know, shout out to Amit for pretty much, it's like free content that he had, and people who didn't know anything about Palantir pretty much jumped on the bandwagon, right? And of course, they did their own little, you know, due diligence research here and there. Hopefully, that's what everybody's doing when it comes to buying stocks, because, you know, as you guys know, investing is such a personal thing that it's pretty much tied in with required research and pretty much an investment, something that we have to be attached to.
When I first met him, I think he FOMO'd in 25 grand at $25 a share. He's now positive on all the lots. Think about it. That's a long time.
Are you talking about Palantir?
Yeah, I think we used to joke with him because he had bought it. He basically bought it at the local top. It was $25, and then it cratered. But he was holding and holding. So I know that feeling when you buy something and then you're kind of bag holding for a while. You're waiting to be made whole, and then you finally see all your lots are green. It takes a lot of balls, so stomach to hold that long. I'm looking for this. This response. I was responding to the data-driven investing about SoFi, and maybe you guys can answer this. Is SoFi going to offer loans against crypto, like margin loans that will allow you to, say, not sell your crypto and take loans against the value of the portfolios?
No, they have to.
I'm not sure they're able to because of the bank charter, but Tevis can speak more eloquently on that subject than I can.
Yeah, like I'm curious, because I think that would be great for them and for crypto, because it would allow people to not sell the crypto, right? So it would alleviate some of the sell pressure, but it would also be an incentive for people to gravitate to SoFi.
They can't. So as a result of them getting a bank charter, one of the conditions was that they had I think 5 years or something to divest out of crypto. And in about a year ago, in the fall, or like November last year, they fully shut down their crypto business, and I think they referred everybody to Binance, if I'm not mistaken. But essentially, they can't fuck around with crypto because of the bank, because they're a chartered bank in the US.
Mm-hmm. That sucks. That would be good.
Well, that's also one of the reasons why, like, when the bull market for Bitcoin came around, Robinhood like tripled basically or doubled, and SoFi was completely flat. It's because they completely are not related things anymore, which was the case 2 years ago. They were in crypto.
Well, they're just different businesses. Robin is a brokerage, and SoFi's a bank. Or you could say just a bank, right?
Yeah, I mean, but they have a brokerage, and that brokerage did offer crypto, but it doesn't anymore.
Mm-hmm. Well, since we're on the topic of crypto, I kind of wanted to do some of the macro stuff first. But why don't we just talk about crypto for a second? Because I want to show, what do I got here? This is what I've got charting for crypto. This is where we're at now, right? So you can see we're sort of trading in a channel up here at this fib level, and the next level. I actually posted something about this. Let me see if I can find that. Where is it?
This is Bitcoin, right? Sorry, it's really small on my phone, so it's Bitcoin, right?
This is Bitcoin. Yeah, this is Bitcoin. 60,000. So you can see even those corrections that we had this week, people were freaking out. It was still essentially one or two levels on the on the fib. It wasn't like anything to be too concerned about. But let me go to here. I did want to play this. I don't know if you guys saw this. This is the kind of stuff that's been popping up on my feed. Did you guys see this?
Yes.
I love him. I love his interviews.
I love his interviews too, but this was just one of the most clearest, and it's like he said what we already know about crypto, but he said it in a call to action way where if I wasn't invested in crypto, I would buy crypto as a result. So I just want to play it. It's like 2 minutes.
Everyone listening to this,
Can you hear it?
Bitcoin is the only way. It's the first time we've all had an exit door. Hear me out on this. If they're going to print a lot of money, usually it's Miami beachfront real estate that goes up a lot, right? Usually it's the early shareholders in Amazon that concentrate wealth and go a lot. What things inflate the most when they print dollars, right? Really good tech stocks, really good real estate, large concentrations of gold. But here's the problem. Not all of us can have gold vaults in our basement protected by strong men and women with guns. Not all of us can afford Miami beachfront real estate or penthouses in Manhattan. Not all of us can found Amazon, can found Apple, but all of us can buy Bitcoin. This is the first time we're going to go through this level of currency debasement around the world and even in the United States where everyone has access to an exit door. The problem is the exit door isn't big enough for everyone. Not everyone's going to be able to get on the Bitcoin life raft. Think about it. You could have gotten on the life raft when Bitcoin was $6. Or then at $60 or $600. Now it's at $60,000, right? And so the door is getting smaller. But it's the first time you could buy $1 of Bitcoin, $10 of Bitcoin, $100 of Bitcoin. It is just the most equitable, fair, open. I mean, it is the way out. So you have to just take it seriously and understand that the government is trying to trick you. They're growing at 10% and they're giving you back 5%. What the market is saying is they're lying. They're going to debase the currency. If they really cared, they'd go higher. And if they're lying and they're going to debase, you have to run somewhere. And every one of you listening can run into Bitcoin. Not everyone can run into Miami beachfront real estate. Not everyone can run into vaults of gold in their basement. Not everyone can go found Amazon right now out of fear. But you can own Bitcoin. And it's the first time in human history that we have an exit door that is open source, distributed to the people, and engineered in a way that no one can stop that. So don't look back and regret that you had a way out.
Wow. What do you guys think of that? I'm going to put up a poll here.
He's got conviction.
And the thesis, and you know, just like when we discussed in person, I mean, as long as the thesis is still there, you know, the conviction of Bitcoin is going to be strong, right? As long as it remains decentralized, as long as it remains secure, the thesis is still playing out. And then going back to the chart that you put up, you know, all these drawdowns, and you see, you know, things on Twitter or X where, you know, they're like, oh, why is Bitcoin bleeding, or it's going down? It's like, well, I think this is part of those multiple drawdowns that happens after the halving. So if you look at the past halvings, it was still pretty volatile based on those levels before before we see a moonshot to a new price. So to me, I just look at it as opportunities to add a little bit of Bitcoin here and there.
Well, the other thing to keep in mind is an advantage of Bitcoin is that it trades 24/7 all around the world. But a disadvantage is it trades 24/7 all around the world. So when we saw the drawdown happen last weekend, right? And it was like, why is Bitcoin tanking? Well, because it was the only market that was open. You have 24-hour trading maybe on Robinhood that they suspended, but it's vulnerable in that sense where people can react instantly to the news and things that happen around the world can affect it. But I think to your point, this is normal as it continues to increase its market cap to a point where the amount of money that would come in and out is a smaller and smaller percentage in the overall price, right? So we just need to get up to the $5, $6, $7 trillion market caps, and these moves won't be as much.
I still have a dream that Jeff Booth gets on this show. Seriously, that's like my dream like scenario. Like, you know, everybody talks about Michael Saylor. Everybody talks about, you know, to me, the two people that I follow most about Bitcoin is Jeff Booth and Lynn Alden. Those are the two that I always listen to, because they always refer back to like history of money. So every time I talk about, to me, every time I talk to people about Bitcoin, and they're the ones that are not familiar with it, I always tell them, study the history of money first, and then you figure out what Bitcoin is to you, right? That's pretty much how I started my small, and I'm not even deep in the rabbit hole, just like those guys. I mean, those guys are like really know the ins and outs of Bitcoin. I still consider myself a beginner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I heard it somewhere where the more you know, like your Bitcoin allocation is equivalent to how well you know the asset, right? So the more you do and the more you study money and you study currencies and you study how like central banks essentially run the world, you start to realize that you're playing a dangerous game having your money too much in fiat.
I mean,
I've got way more money than I ever thought I would in crypto, but I think it's because I got in relatively early, right? I'm not one of those guys from like super early, but I have a decent position for the amount of money that I put in.
Put it this way, guys. Put it this way, guys. There's not a lot of people that have one Bitcoin. There's not a lot of them.
Oh, yeah,
there's not many whole Bitcoiners out there. So if you have one Bitcoin, you're actually in the rare camp. Mm-hmm. I know only one person aside from you guys. I mean, again, I don't know if you guys, have. I'm pretty sure you guys have one or more, but I know one person personally that has a lot of Bitcoin, but just one. And then the other extreme is they have no Bitcoin at all. I mean, to me, that scares me. Like it's very scary to me that people are. I think people are not scared of the fiat, but they're scared of putting like $5 or $20 or $5 or $10 into a digital limited asset. So
yeah, I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, just put 1% of your portfolio. I'm like, if you're going to do 1%, then don't do anything, right? Understand it and learn it. And once you do, it's like
exactly
20%. And I think it just grows over time. It's the most comfortable, or it's the most secure investment for me in terms of my sentiment towards it. I don't worry about it. Of course, I want it to moon, but I don't worry about it. I don't worry about it like I do my Tesla stock, right? It doesn't have a CEO. It doesn't have quarterly earnings. It doesn't have any of that stuff. It just needs time. That's what Bitcoin needs, is time. And I got a video of something that I wanted to show you guys too, related to this. Let me see if I can...
For the pod, whether it's TJ Tevis, what do you guys think of? Because this price target, everybody loves to talk about price target, but what do you think about the 100,000 minimum price target? How do you guys feel about that?
Here, I'll bring up this. This is what we're looking at now. This is someone tagged me in this. I actually had saved it, and then someone tagged me in this. Did you see this?
That's not April O'Neil from Ninja Turtle. Okay, I thought that was April O'Neil from Ninja Turtles.
So the prediction here, right? July 2024, we're predicting September 24, 105. I have a real problem with that. I do not think it's going to hit 105,000. I actually posted some stuff about this, which I'll show. Saying here, I'll hold 90% of total supply. Now here's our plan. This is what I'm looking at here. I got to get better about the way I share this. I got to share the window is what I got to do.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't like, who really cares, right? Like, I think about specific price targets by a specific month, like it's cool to talk about, but you're really looking at this very short time window. And I know that I think all of us own Bitcoin. Like, Bitcoin's my third largest position. And it's one of those where like shit can hit the fan and I will never cross my mind to sell my Bitcoin. I think partially it's because it's so much more of a hassle to sell my Bitcoin as opposed to selling anything else. I can just log into my app and sell it. Whereas with my Bitcoin, I have to go, get my physical wallet and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, I think that, Carlos, you said it, but it applies to all asset classes. Like, all asset classes, all your dollars are going to get devalued over time. That's just normal, right? $20 in 1960 is like $250 today. That's just a fact in terms of inflation. And then you're eventually going to move towards this place of having a diminishing middle class, because you either have people who just spend more and things get more expensive for them and they have no assets, or you have people who their money compounds and makes more money. I think the through line is just to be in assets in general. It's like saying, oh, what is the price target for Amazon? And it's like, who cares? I know Amazon's going to go up. If they replace their CEO, they're going to have a new CEO. Like the product has built a moat around it. And it's a little bit different for Bitcoin. I get it. But at the end of the day, your mind share is going to correlate to your market share. The more you know something, the more you think about something, the larger a dominance it's going to have in your portfolio. And so with Bitcoin, like, you know, for me, it's 10% or 15% of my portfolio, something like that. My third largest position. Last time I bought it was.
Is that allocation based on your allocated capital or the current value of the portfolio?
I think I'm up like 150%, something like that. I bought for the last time like 2 weeks ago. When Trump did his Bitcoin speech at the conference, because I was like, okay, look, if you have you get into the game theory of things, right? Germany sold at 55,000, and then all of these other countries are buying, and it's going to get into this race between governments to have the reserves. And if the US is stepping up and publicly saying, hey, you know, we have a crypto-friendly president, if that scenario were to happen, I think that could be massively bullish. And so, yeah, if you do get that type of, you know, if the Republican Party wins, and you know, you could very well be in 100,000 by that time frame, right, or by the end of the year, because you now are playing on a country's level. You're not playing on a retail individual level.
Right. It's institution. It's the next level. It's the exponential level up from institutions. It's just whole countries buying this shit.
Exactly, right. At the end of the day, like my wealth is tied to BlackRock's bag. And so like, okay, cool. Like, thanks. I'll own Bitcoin because BlackRock's not going to lose money on that shit. They're going to make sure that they don't lose money on it.
Well, they're making a ton of money on just fees right now on the ETFs. So TJ, I've asked you before, and you don't have Bitcoin because you can't buy.
I can't sell options.
Can't roll it.
Yeah, you can't roll it. But
no, I day traded Bitcoin for about a year in 2015. I first got exposed to Bitcoin. It was, I don't know, maybe $1,500.
Yeah,
a token, give or take. If y'all want to look at the
and back then it really was just like for drug dealers, and like it was really.
Yeah, it'll tell you roughly what the price was, and it was cool. I made like $50,000 in about a 6-month period day trading Bitcoin. But dude, it was exhausting. Like I found the asset class too exhausting from the 24/7 aspect of it. You know, I'd be playing poker. I'd be on a wine tour because that was my life back then. I was laid off from the oil field at the time. And it's like, let me check to see where Bitcoin's at. And it was just like, it became like a serious addiction. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like when in college, I got into this video game addiction that lasted like a semester. I think I got like 1 A and it was like all C's because I was just like, I want to go play fucking Street Fighter. I want to go play Mortal Kombat. And I went down to a fucking rabbit hole. And I have not picked up a video game console ever since because I was like, this is the most unproductive thing that I could do with my life.
Yeah, but TJ, that was back then. Yeah. But right now you're on Robinhood, and Robinhood has like 24-hour trading. What's the difference?
I did. It just doesn't. First of all, you can't sell options after the market. So that saves me from me, right? Because I have a very addictive personality. That's why the positions get so big. Because I get addicted to the idea of winning big, and you know, if you want to win big, you also have to consider the fact that you could lose big. But Bitcoin, to me, the thing that I liked about it was I wrapped my mind around this. I think it's 21 million, right? That's the number, and it's 2140. So there's like an actual end to this thing that none of us will be alive to see unless Elon Musk does something crazy with like Neuralink or something. So, but the thing is, I like that it was a zero-sum game. I could wrap my mind around that concept. But then, you know, y'all were talking about researching money and stuff. I mean, we're in a very immature country here in the United States, right? It's 1776. We're about 250 years old, give or take. So this whole fiat and the US dollar that people are so fucking enamored with, myself included, it's not really that old in the larger scheme of things. And like in the 1700s, there was tulip mania. Are y'all familiar with tulip mania?
Mm-hmm. I heard something about that.
And that shit went all fucking crazy Bitcoin-like and eventually fucking crashed. It fell down faster than just Google it, bro. Tulip mania. This is a real thing. I think it was like, I don't know. 1637 or 1737. So the world's gone through this kind of stuff before. So when I started researching that kind of thing, it gave me a little bit of pause to cause. I'm not going to lie. But then Tom Lee got me real bullish on Bitcoin because during 2015, 2016, the narrative was Bitcoin was the new gold, and some money would transition over from gold into Bitcoin, and that would push the market cap so high.
Right.
And my bear case has always been with Bitcoin is, how do you spend it? It's just like everybody I know a lot of people that have physical gold, and I'm like, cool. What the fuck do you buy with it? Like, where is the store of value really? Like, because the one thing about
but it is, but into that
TJ,
about Fiat,
it is storing the value. This is why I was asking the question to Tevis about SoFi. If I knew, right, that I could hold these assets forever and take out loans against them, right, within a safe range, and be able to spend the money in the real world, spend the fiat, and not incur the capital gains tax, that would make it for me the perfect asset. For me, it's about trying to time some sort of exit that I'll be okay with if it gets away from me, and then using that fiat to do something that will set me up in the future or buy back in. And that's the hard part.
Well, I think also comparing it to the US dollar is somewhat flawed, because the US dollar is only relevant right now because the US is the dominant superpower of the 21st century. And so they essentially have the keys to the money printer, and everybody's currency is like backed, by the US currency. And so if the US prints, everybody else gets inflated even more. But money is it was invented in 3000 BC.
Yeah.
Funny part is paper money was only invented in 700 BC. So there was 2000 years that people were using shells and grain and all kinds of different things for money.
So that's they're trying to store value.
Exactly. But the point is money can be literally anything you want that has some type of finite supply, that has some type of portability. And so there's a couple of core principles or concepts that, criteria, let's say, to meet to have something as viable money. The problem with Bitcoin right now, or crypto in general, is that we don't have that infrastructure yet, because there hasn't been a full generation of people on the internet. The internet was, when I was born, we didn't have it. And so it's so in its infancy, but give it, 20 years from now, or even 50 years from now, let's say, there's going to be full generations of people who were born and lived and never knew a world that didn't have the internet. And those people will have the rails, essentially the distribution mechanisms, to make it actually commercially viable, so that you can spend with it. You can go to El Salvador, and instead of tapping your phone and it, going from your Amex to McDonald's for you to buy a burger, it goes from your crypto wallet to McDonald's to buy a burger. That can be commercially viable in a very short amount of time. It's a logistical problem. It's not a theoretical problem.
And also, one thing I want to add, because I know we have everybody that's in Bitcoin. I'm sure everybody's in Bitcoin for different reasons. And throughout my journey with learning about crypto and learning about Bitcoin, there's going to be different ways you see Bitcoin. Are you going to see it as a digital currency, a store of value, or a protocol? Right now, there are people that are trying to pretty much build on top of Bitcoin, right? I think that's one of the problems that's people are trying to solve. So if you see it that way, then that means that you can pretty much, or at least try to find a way to scale Bitcoin in that way by building on top of that layer. So
I've talked to a lot of nerdy people that Bitcoin is actually a very, it's not such an awesome technology. If you look at the technology of Ether, and I'm not nerding out, this is not my thing, right? So I in a sense, I feel like I'm talking out of my ass. I'm just repeating shit that I've heard from smarter people than me, okay? But Ethereum blockchain network, 10 times superior to Bitcoin from my understanding, based on what they've said and I bought into the fucking Kool-Aid. I don't know it to be true. So me, I'm bullish on Bitcoin, but truth be told, I'm a lot more bullish on blockchain technology than Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything. And I think at some point the government's going to back something, and that's going to become like the new fiat, because it's fucking efficient, bro. Like, it's efficient. You can track it. Like, to me, like dollars, how is US dollars efficient? You don't know how many fucking dollars somebody has under their mattress, so to speak. And if they want to track you, if they want to big brother your ass, the easiest way to do it is with crypto, in my opinion. But then that becomes a big flaw in Bitcoin, because anonymity was like a real big thing that was sold to me in 2014, 2015, when I first got exposed. Because it was what the fuck was the term that they were using back then?
Immutable?
No. There was something fucking, it was always everywhere. Help me out in the fucking chat, guys. Like, they were always about Bitcoin. They would always talk about like it's the jurisdiction.
It's unscalable. So it's secure. It's like three things. It's like the tripod that Jeff Booth talks about. It's secure. You're not able to corrupt it, and the only problem is it's not scalable. Decentralized. There you go. Yeah.
So look, I think
I'm super bullish on blockchain technology. Like, for instance, there's something that I think that needs to be on something like the blockchain that I think everybody, if you're logical, would be able to agree with it, especially you, Heinze, because you're in the medical field. Like, how in the fuck are medical records not the same everywhere? Like, how can you not look up medical records the way you can a fucking credit report?
Right.
Well, because of
somewhere in another country, I'm screwed if they don't know all my medical data. So there's got to be a centralized place where
medical records.
So let me answer that. So they kind of do. They do. There are some ways where patient information at the choice of the patient can go into a centralized we have
a lot of those information and stuff, bro. It's not that cut and dry.
But I think the scary thing, though, and this is pretty important. Anyone that's in the chat that's involved in healthcare is patient privacy. That's probably like the number one thing you learn anytime that whether you go to med school, nursing school. It's all about HIPAA, right? It's all about protecting patient privacy, because considering healthcare is a very lucrative business. There are many ways that bad actors can get hands on private information.
Wait. Hold on, but I got to stop you there, because if your patient information was on a blockchain, you can have an access key the same way that you have.
Isn't it? Isn't that what it's about?
Like, if you don't know my keys, you're not getting my crypto, right? You're not going to get it. You can't hack it. So you could do the same thing. And I think it was you even that sent me that California is, I think, going to adopt something where they're going to put
and I actually, this is where it is kind of getting scared, because I still don't have an opinion on this. I don't know. I would still have to do some research, especially with what are the benefits and what are the negatives of this, right? Would I want my personal health information be out there in the ether, even if it says right now it's uncorruptible or unhackable, right? I mean, the idea that it's unhackable, I mean, there has to be a proof of concept that it's really a stronghold, legit, firewalls all over that place.
I don't think there's anything that's unhackable at this point. Like,
but has Bitcoin itself ever been hacked?
No. So we're not talking about, existing current structures, right? Like, every record out there that you may have that is in some server somewhere, like, that can be accessed, right? And I mean, when we're talking about keys and whatnot, like, that's one thing. But I think that we are, in terms of an adoption perspective, like, we're adjacent to our population adopting something like that, because we've had a soft on-ramp onto having a system like crypto in general. So on the point of the blockchain, right? Like, I live in a metropolitan city. The last time that I used cash, I cannot remember. Like, I genuinely can't remember. I have, I think, like $100 on my table just in case of emergencies. I carry a 50 with me in my wallet, just that, shit hits the fan. I haven't had to use it in years.
Travis,
so-
you don't tip? You don't go to the coffee shop and tip?
Yeah, but you do it all through your card or your phone. And that's my point. It's like, dude, I get paid and numbers pop up on a screen somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I tap a piece of plastic or I tap my phone onto something. And then I just get things, you know? And so like people are already used to that. I got an Apple Watch recently and now it's tracking all my steps, my sleep, all that stuff in my app. And so you already have the mechanisms by which you can completely move off of this fiat system. And I think that it's going to be very easy from a user training and behavior point of view, because people are not using cash and coins on a daily basis. Like some generations are, but a lot of the younger people out there, just it's inconvenient. And so that convenience, I think, is key. And it's going to be something that helps the adoption, not hurts it.
Agree. I mean, I agree for cash, that makes sense. But the conversation is about whether or not you move other information to blockchain. And
Yeah, I just want to give you all an example. This is a real life use case. It's my mom. She's terminally ill with cancer, been bedridden now for about 4 or 5 months.
Sorry about that, TJ.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, man. But we're all going there. Nobody's in a hurry. You know what I'm saying? But she's been fighting like a trooper. But during the last couple of months, it was from like the house to the hospital, 3 or 4 ambulance rides. One happened while I was live on YouTube. I had to call freaking 911 because my dad called me in a state of panic.
Oh my God.
But dude, this is something that is fucking wrong with the medical system. Every time we'd have to check my mom in, they would ask us the same 2 or 3 fucking questions over and over. Is there any medication that your mom is allergic to? Fucker, we have already told you about 10 times you cannot give her penicillin or you'll fucking kill her. That should be a universal language here already with my mom as a patient, regardless of what hospital we take her to.
Right.
But that information isn't readily accessible. There's a thing called the Medical Information Bureau. It's supposed to be your medical fucking credit report. They used to sell me a fuckload of life insurance and health insurance back in the day. So I'm a lot more informed about this shit than I lead on. But there's these fucking HIPAA laws that are meant to protect you, but they can also fucking kill you if you're not willing to participate and help the doctor help you. It's a Jerry Maguire thing, dude. Help me, help you.
Right.
But do you want privacy or do you want to fucking live? What do you want to do? Do you want to go to jail or do you want to go home?
You're proving your own point there, TJ, about the decentralized point, right? Like,
yeah, but what I'm saying is something needs to solve a problem, and that gives it value. And I think that if blockchain solves problems, in there lies the valuing their fucking 150,000 price targets and all this other shit. Because I think a lot of people, their biggest argument with Bitcoin, it's essentially the greater fools theory. And I really don't have a counter argument to that I could like gun to my head stand behind, if that makes sense.
But
aside from there's only 21,000 or 21 million, and that's it.
The counter argument to that is that all investments, all like securities trading, is the same thing. It's a greater fool theory. If no one else buys any more shares of Palantir from now moving forward, the price will never go up. It only goes up when more people buy after you. It's the same shit. This idea that that's only valid for crypto is kind of silly. But the underlying point of what you're saying is that using a blockchain technology to store information and having a key that you can then give people access to, like I have, like in order for me to connect my bank to my Coinbase, I need to give it like access. It has there's a key that I give. Right. Or I have to give my crypto, I have to give other accounts of mine access to crypto, to the Coinbase. And it's all happening in the back end. So it's a protected information and I have the key. It's the same deal. If you had some of that information, some of your personal information on a blockchain, you could then control and immediately limit who has control and who has access to the information. I think it's going there. Honestly, I think it is going to go there. It's going to start with crypto. It'll start. I read something. I forgot which state it was that they're going to move the driver's license data to this. Eventually, the government, as much as they might publicly shit on crypto, or some of the governments do, they are very, very into the technology. And I think he just starts talking in the background. Okay, I did want to show this, and then I want to have, ask a question. Let me see. Hopefully, this will share the whole screen. Do you see this? Do you see this? So we're talking about what's going to happen for crypto over the next couple of months. Typically, Crypto puts in a low in September. This is why I was not believing that first chart that I showed you that will be at $105,000 by. And I just did some quick. This is just literally some quick charting. But if you just drill into this, you can see that Bitcoin usually puts in a low late September. But just based on the law of exponential growth, this chart is pointing to, regardless of what happens, Bitcoin could be at $105,000 or $100,000 by March of next year. There's a chart here that shows it's called the Bitcoin power chart. I'll play a little bit of this and see what have you seen this? Have you guys seen this?
No, I haven't.
I just look at the rainbow chart, man.
The rainbow, yeah, the rainbow. But this is essentially the rainbow chart from log to what is it? Exponential to log. They basically show you log time versus log price. It's the power law. So this is essentially what creates the rainbow chart. These are the bands inside of the rainbow chart, right?
Interesting.
And this is the price of Bitcoin over, since inception. And you can see how it's following this power law. And this is where we are right now. And if you just extrapolate that data out, you're seeing, the top line is 5 years ahead of support. And so by 2036, this is what we're looking at, from 100,000 to 1 million between July, whatever. I posted this a while ago.
Carlos, if I may ask, when you look at the rainbow chart or this logarithmic chart,
yeah,
do you ever think about how people like us may underestimate how much printing is going to happen when the Fed starts to cut rates? And that's why for me personally, I think the $100,000, and again, it's not financial advice, but I think the $100,000 is really underestimating the potential price of the next bull
I agree
for Bitcoin.
But $100,000 is a psychological milestone. Yeah. It's like there's certain prices with stocks, even with stocks like Palantir was $30. You just want to see it hit, say, $30 when it hits $30, right? Or SoFi, right? You want to see it hit $20, whatever it is. It's that mental barrier where people are setting up sells, right? And you can look at the options market. TJ knows this, right? There's certain milestones, prices where there's just going to be a lot of volume there, both buy and sell. And 100,000, you have to understand that now we're in 6 digits. That's a big difference. It's a big jump from 5 digits to 6 digits. So although I think you're right, it could blow right past it. It's still a psychological barrier, just like the previous all-time high of 20,000. Back in 2017 was this unbreakable barrier that would, and we just blew right by it. A month later, we were at 60, or 2 months later. So I agree with you.
I'm really going to be curious about what happens when we do reach, if or when, again, we do reach that milestone. I wonder what's going to happen to like Michael Saylor's holding. I wonder if he's going to,
He's one of the first trillionaires, this guy, Michael Saylor.
That's your belief? That's actually a decent prediction. That's actually a decent prediction.
Who else?
Do you think he would sell?
He doesn't seem like he's the guy that's going to hold it that long. I'm sure he'll sell some.
Yeah.
But actually, he wouldn't need to sell. This is my point. He'll borrow money against his Bitcoin. Why would he ever sell it? He'll just borrow money against it. And as the value goes up,
worth that right now?
Say again?
What's his net worth at right now? Like, I doubt he'd be first.
Michael Saylor's network or his Bitcoin holding. He's on the list, like the top 5 Bitcoin holders.
Yeah, he owns a lot of Bitcoin. Like it's insane.
I know, but like Bitcoin would need to do like a 10x or whatever for him, probably more than a 10x for him to be a trillionaire. Elon will get it with like a 3x or a 4x of Tesla now.
Well, either way, it's going to be one of those two guys, or those two guys will be the first and only. So real quick before we pivot, and we can end the conversation on Bitcoin, I did want to just share this because this is like, just to go on record, this is what I'm seeing here. I don't know if you've noticed this, the guy's been following it. If you look at historical data, late September has usually been a good entry point for crypto after a summer bleeding. Of course, do you own DD, but if you have one. So this is Bitcoin in 2020. And you can see on September 21st, and follow these like 60-day cycles. On September 21st was the low, and then we had a run up. So that was the lowest price after that for the rest of the year. 2021 was the same thing. We had a low, and this was on September 21st. And then we proceeded up. This is a picture, so I can't see how much, but you can see that there was a run up after that. And then 2022, same sort of deal. We had a sort of a black swan event that crashed it. But essentially, September usually marks the lowest price that you're going to see in Bitcoin for the rest of the year. And so I'm sitting tight. I'm still doing my daily DCAs, but I do not expect anything to happen until the tail end for the rest of the year.
Have you seen this chart, Carlos? It just compares the COVID crash, the Black Swan event, to 2024.
And look what happened.
Yeah. But I mean, look, September, which we know is just for all asset class, like all equities in general, is a pretty weak month.
Yep, it's usually bad.
It's like when it goes back from value. That's like after the summer trade from.
Well, it's going to have a multiplier effect this year, right? Because you're going into an election.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I don't like volatility, or if I don't want to be risk on, I'll be like, okay, let me take a little bit of my summer gains off the table, because I don't know what's going to happen with this election result.
Right. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Actually, we're close to the end because I do got to get to work. But while I have you, and I'm bringing you back on, Shane, I did want to ask you guys about the state of the world. Like, you know, we try to maintain these discussions about finance, but I'm finding it increasingly difficult not to be affected by all of the news that we're hearing around the world, especially what's happening in the UK, and how people are comparing it to what's happening in Canada. So can you guys set the record straight? Both of you guys are in Canada. Like, is the situation in Canada
as bad as they say it is?
Yeah, like as dire as they say it is. I mean, is this guy Trudeau really this World Economic Forum guy who doesn't care about the people? Like, you know, the shit that happened with the truckers. Are they really coming after the farmers out there? Like, what's the deal? How accurate is the reporting of what we're reading, or is that just the most extreme cases and it's actually a little more towards the middle?
I mean, he's definitely fallen out of the favorite. Like, he's the leader of our Liberal Party. They had a majority, but I think he was going to re-elect next year, and it doesn't even sound like he might get a minority party. So
would he win? Would he win?
Not at this rate. Like, I think they're looking for him to step down, like his party, and if he doesn't do so in the next couple of months, it's not going to be enough time for a new party leader to come up and running. So they're probably going to lose their majority seat, kind of like what's going on with Biden and Kamala.
Yeah.
Guys, sorry for interrupting, Tevis, but it's funny that you guys mentioned Trudeau. Well, actually, I'll let you go first, Tevis, and I'll bring this up because it's a very interesting theory about what people have said about him. But go ahead, Tevis.
I mean, look, without getting overly political, I think that things, just statistically speaking, are looking fairly dire for the Liberal Party in Canada, simply because just looking at the polls out there, it's like incredibly skewed. I'll pull one up when Heinze goes, but we just had a couple months ago, they did like a by-election for a riding in the middle of Toronto, and that has been like over 30 years Liberal held, and for the first time now in 30 something years, the Conservative member won that. So like, think of, I don't know, if you do like a by-election in the middle of New York City or in the middle of Los Angeles, and like a Republican candidate wins that. Like, that was the equivalent, and that's what triggered a lot of the like a couple of members of his cabinet to step down, essentially, and triggered a lot of backlash from external people to ask him to step down. One of the things that they're discussing is to pull what Macron did in France, basically, where right now we don't have like the, you know, Republican, Democrat, and it's like you sort of pick one. We have like 4 or 5 parties, and it's conservative, liberal, then you have NDP, and then you have like the Green Party, you have a couple of other ones. And NDP is sort of the swing vote, so they always just, you know, tack on to, because conservative and liberal are so close, NDP just tacks on to whoever is the winning party, and they form a coalition government. And the idea is that if shit hits the fan and conservatives are really going to win that election, and the liberals don't want to let go of power, they might collapse those two parties into one, so that everybody who votes is not cannibalizing the vote either for Liberal or NDP as two separate parties. They're just voting for one party. And like, I think that's going to be the last ditch effort that they try. But yeah, the only negative is that the election is next year, not this year, like you guys.
Right.
Because it gives more time for these types of shenanigans. Like, if
they're also
he's
gonna
going to
wait
be out, he's going to, burn it on his way out type of thing. Like he's going to spend, like, what is that expression? Like the last thing they do is they spend all the money before they leave, something like that. Like they raid the coffers before they leave.
Raid the coffers.
So,
Well,
yeah.
The reason I ask this is because we've had somewhat stable governments around the world, and we're making our investment decisions based on markets that are based on the leadership. And it seems like there is a change coming, and that will affect global markets. And Canada, I don't know, Canada's sort of been the poster child of everything that's wrong with that system of government. And I just didn't know if what we're seeing on on our feeds is accurate, or if that's just a bunch of propaganda that's trying to get rid of somebody who is actually more, not necessarily more liked, but not as hated as they say.
I think Trudeau is pretty hated, man. Like I think there's a few that's been against him, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just heard this from a podcast, which I'm not gonna mention. But so I mean, you guys know more because you guys are obviously Canadian. But have you ever superimposed the photo, the face of Trudeau and his dad versus
I know where you're going with
Trudeau and Castro?
Yeah.
Have you heard about that?
Yeah, I have heard about that.
Have you guys heard about the rumor? If you really look close, I mean, it's kind of almost undeniable.
We need more
that
You are not the father.
Yeah, it's amazing, and I can't believe that I just found out about this. But I was like, wow, I didn't know that there was a big correlation, or there's a bit of a look-alike. I mean, let Trudeau grow some beard, and it'll be pretty clear. So.
Yeah, look, without getting, because I've seen the pictures and all that, but I think that it's become more polarized this time around, regardless of where you sit on the political spectrum. Like I have friends who are on the left who are more moving towards the middle because the left has so far, skewed even more left in terms of their policies. If you just look objectively at what's happening, unemployment is higher than in the US. Homelessness is higher. A lot the actual affordability is more unaffordable, and by all the metrics, crime is up over the past 5 years at incredible clips. And so if you look through all of the common measures of was there a good job or a bad job, I think you can objectively say there's been a very poor job that's been done just by looking at public records.
To the credit, Tevis, though, for Canada, at least there's a shift change there. You guys can still see a shift change because of all these things happening. What you described right now is pretty much what is happening in California. The only difference is California will always be Democrat. It's not going to be Republican for a very long time.
Schwarzenegger was governor, dude. It's not.
Yeah, but that was such a sham. He only did it. I think people. This is stupid. I think people just voted for him because he was the Terminator. It was more of a. It was more of a marketing. It was more of a marketing.
I'm saying, had I have lived there, that would have been enough for me as a kid of the '90s. That would have been enough for me. Just to have him come into a. End one of his addresses with "I'll be back" or "Hasta la vista." That would be freaking badass.
So when's the last time California voted Republican? Have they ever?
It was that. I think it was that. It was when they voted for Schwarzenegger.
I mean, that's not going to happen here, but it's not about California. It's about the national election, and we'll see what's going to happen, because it does seem like there's real discontent all around the world, right? And so the next couple of months are going to be really, really interesting.
To your point, Carlos, around destabilizing, the health of the economy, I think that if you look at Canada's, assets in general, real estate has been carrying the entire country on its back, essentially, because we've been in 2008 never really happened here. And so think of 2008 never happened in the US. That's how unsustainable it's been. And then you amplify immigration on top of that. It's so difficult, for me to own a home, and I'm I think, pretty, like, I work in tech and all that. And like, it's so difficult. It's so unsustainable. And so now we're seeing shakes of real estate actually coming down. And then, like, if you look at the top, like the blue chips of the Canadian, the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange, they're pretty much down, like on a 5-year basis. A lot of the banks are down. They're not doing very well because everybody would rather just invest in the US stock market. And then if you flip it and you look at what impact might Canada's elections have on the US stock market, absolutely negligible, nothing at all. Why?
Yeah.
Because the entire country is like 34 million people. It's like one of your states.
Yeah.
So
Tevis, one thing to ask about, or and even Shane, like, do you guys have a? I don't know if
You broke up, Heinze. I think we lost him.
Oh.
We'll give him a second. I'll bring him back. All right, you there?
am I back?
Yeah, you broke up.
All right. So
Yes,
one of the things that I want to ask is there a depopulation, or is there a shift of kind of thought process of younger people in Canada not wanting to get married and not?
He's getting clipped.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you're basically asking, is Canada experiencing the same sort of lowering birth rates? I think that's happening all over the world. I mean, whenever there's economic uncertainty, the last thing people want to do is carry the burden. And it's not even just the financial burden, but it's also like, do I have the time and energy to devote to children correctly? So that's a problem that's happening all over the world. It's not just a Canadian thing. Even in America, if it wasn't for immigration, we would be showing the actual decline in births.
It is a big issue.
It's a problem that we got to deal with. Japan is almost at runaway, and so is China. And so, in terms of their inverted population, inverted, so it's going to be an issue. Right away, but it'll be an issue.
And to me, the reason why I'm having these types of conversation that relates to we talk about stocks, we talk about Bitcoin, things like that. Innovation, we talk about that. Well, sometimes I kind of think, and so what's the point of even innovating if nobody's going to use it in the future? You know what I mean? Like, does anybody ever think about that?
Well, innovations like the innovation in robots is going to help with the labor shortage.
So innovation is deflationary because you get a product.
No, I understand. Yeah, I get that.
The thing is, in Canada specifically, Heinze, anywhere you go, the ability to have a family is correlated with like financial and economic safety, right? Like, you have to be able to afford a kid before you even start having that conversation around it. One of the things that you just reminded me of that they passed here recently was that capital gains tax. So they basically hiked it. And they did it saying that it was going to only target a very, very small top percentage of people. And in fact, it's going to target the vast majority of people, because if you own 2 properties, let's say, as opposed to 1, then all of a sudden your capital gains just got hiked, and it disincentivizes you to invest. But also it affects everybody working in the tech sector like myself, because we all get equity. And so when you get that equity to invest and you eventually sell that equity, you're now taxed a way higher. Like, they moved it up to 66% as opposed to 50%.
Wow.
Like
66%.
So yeah,
You
so
need to move, bro.
Dude, you gotta move to Vegas, man.
Well,
Honestly, that's what people are doing. We're seeing a
This is-
lot of
this is
people
where
are leaving Canada because of that. Like, they're going south
Exactly.
because you don't get taxed if you ask for it.
And to Shane's point, the people that are leaving are the most capable, smartest,
Right.
Talented innovators. Like the likes of, Shopify, for example, was started here. A company, Simple, is started here. Like, there's a lot of companies that would rather now just start in the US because it's not worth, like, the juice is not worth the squeeze. And so what you're having is the highest class of earners, innovators, leaving the country, and then you're importing all of these people, externally
Worker class,
are
right.
not that.
Right.
And you're essentially recycling your population, but in such a way that life just becomes more unsustainable here, because you as a government are not incentivizing innovation. If you look at the top jobs, like the employment rate over the last 10 years, government has seen like the biggest increase, and then the private sector has seen a huge decrease. And so you're becoming to this place where the majority of people work in the public sector because everybody else who can is working abroad.
No, you're saying most of the people will work in the government, and the private sector is going to be less.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, California has that same problem. It seems like a lot of the people that are moving away are the ones that are unhappy with the taxes.
They were the job creators. They were
exactly.
Jobs, and that starts another it's got cascade effect.
Remember, Chevron just left their headquarters away from California, going to Texas. I think that was just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, well, Elon too was probably the most famous of that. He just got rid of all of his companies now are in Texas. Well, look, guys, I gotta get to work. So I wanted to thank you guys for coming on the show. I could have actually, I almost wish we started that conversation a bit earlier because I wanted to drill down a little bit more into that. Even though people don't like when we get political, fuck it, I don't care. These things actually, like, there's a point where you just
it impacts the market
anymore. You can't ignore this anymore, and it's going to have an effect. It's not going to be about fundamentals or whatever. It's like one massive black swan event that's happening around the world. So I appreciate you guys' insight and input, being from Canada. And again, always appreciate TJ, always appreciate Heinze. If you haven't, follow all those guys on their YouTube pages and X. And if you haven't, hit like on the stream, hit subscribe on the channel. Please consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon. And we will see you again next week. I'm going to try to have my regular stream tomorrow on Sunday, but if I can't, I'll let you guys know on Twitter. It would just be due to work. I'm really trying to make this thing work around the schedule and keep it somewhat regular. So once again, Thank you, Shane. We'll connect offline about some of the other cool things. And thanks for watching. See you guys next time.
Take care, guys. Have a good day.
Take care, guys.